Good morning, friends, and welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today I am going to be adding 3 different types of iconic classic southern shrubs to my North Carolina Zone 8A garden. It is, of course, end of October. By the time this comes out, it will actually be November. Shock! I say this every month. Cannot believe it's this month already. I cannot believe that it's already would be November when this video comes out, but we're going to be adding some camellias. I've got 2 different varieties of camellias. I have got a daphne. I have never done a daphne in my garden before. We got some beautiful ones at the nursery, so I am all about experimenting. Let's try this out. So we're going to plant a daphne in a container up at the chicken coop. And then we're going to be adding another tea olive to my space. If you know Jenny loves her tea olives, her sweet olives, sweet osmanthus, whatever it is that you want to call it. I have got one that has proven itself to be quite tough, and she deserves to be planted in the garden. So that is what we're going to do. We're going to start first with the camellias. I am standing here trying to be in the shade underneath Johnny because it is a bright, gorgeous day here, and I have got on the wall behind me, I have got my 2 camellias that we are going to be adding to the landscape. So let's start first. We'll work our way from on the end, and then we'll go down to the one that is in bloom. So this is pink snow camellia, and while she is not blooming right now, she has got buds all over her. There was one that was blooming at the nursery, and that is what caught my eye for pink snow. This is a sasanqua. So sasanquas, you know it's a sasanqua because it has very small leaves, about the size of your thumb, okay? So the reason that it's important to know the difference between a sasanqua and a japonica, those are going to be your 2 main types of camellias that we grow here in the South. Sasanquas have that thumbprint size leaf on them. They are going to be your fall bloomers. They're going to be blooming depending on the variety, depending on the season, depending on the weather. Basically could be as early as September through December. So those are sasanquas. Sasanquas typically can take more sun. They are also faster growers, okay? So that's the sasanqua. Japonicas will have nice, big, significantly larger leaves on them. They're still that nice, dark, glossy green, but they're significantly bigger. Japonicas are going to bloom basically, let's say January through March. Again, all depends on where you live and your climate and how the weather does that year. Japonicas, oh my gosh, well, they're all gorgeous, but Japonicas will tend to be a slower grower, and over time the plant will be a larger plant. There are homes in the South that these plants, these camellias, especially Japonicas, can be as old as the house, and oftentimes you'll be driving by and you'll just see a random camellia. Oftentimes, a house used to be there and the camellia has outlived the house. These can be extremely long-lived shrubs. The first couple of years, you got to do a little bit of babying on them and take care of them. But once you get them established and they are happy, man, they will outlive you. Pink snow is gorgeous, like baby doll pink flowers, kind of ruffly. It'll have like a yellow stamen in the middle, but it is an extremely soft pink camellia. We're going to plant this one right beside the October Magic Rose, which is a really deep, kind of a hot pink. So I love the contrast that those 2 are going to give each other. So we're going to put in a pink snow. And then the one that is blooming in all of her glory, this is brand new from Proven Winners. Proven Winners has gotten into camellias. They heard the cries of their southern gardeners, and they have brought us a series of the Just Chill camellias. This is Just Chill Double Mauve, and I think you can understand how Double Mauve got its name. Still nice, soft pink. It is a double bloom. That yellow stamen in the middle, and just beautiful. It is covered, it has been blooming, I don't know, a couple of weeks now, and so you can see that it is absolutely covered in buds and will be stunning. It already is stunning. In fact, I had this in reserve in my stash in the pines, and I was driving by. I was going to go get another plant, and she was in all of her glory, and I was like, stop, Johnny. And I was like, dear heavens. So she's going to go in the ground. Now, the Just Chill is a hybrid, so it's going to act like a sasanqua. It is not typically, it's not a traditional sasanqua, it's not a traditional japonica. It is a hybrid, but it's going to act like a sasanqua, that it blooms in the fall and that it can take that full sun. So it's rated for full sun to part sun. If you are in a zone 6, you can carefully plant the Just Chill series, hence its name. Is going to be more cold tolerant. What you're going to need to do is give it protection from the winter winds, because you're on the border of being too cold for them. So you don't have to worry about your summers being too hot, you have to worry about your winters being too cold. So put it in a location, maybe on a tree line, up against the house, something that when the winter winds come through, it is protected. So just keep that in mind. Other than that, it's hardy to zone 9. This one will be basically 5 to 8 feet tall, 3 to 5 feet wide. So I am very excited to add her. We're going to add her first, and where we're going to add her is where you see that Land and Sea compost bag, because I have a hole between a brandywine viburnum and a holly tree. Now we need to come in here and limb up some of our oak trees and the maple trees. Jackson was going to do it for me, but he couldn't get the pole saw cranked, so I'm gonna see if I can get Jerry to come over here and crank it for me, and we can get some of these limbs shortened up a little bit. But basically this is where it's going to go. We're going to sandwich her in right here, dead center. The reason that I want to put her here is a couple of reasons. One, the irrigation, it will still hit this spot, so yay for that. But the main reason is, here I am standing where the camellia is going to go, and you can see that our front porch has the perfect view for this spot. Our driveway, as you drive in, you're going to see her in all of her glory. The holly tree is covered in berries. How beautiful will it be to have the pink camellia with the red holly berries next door? It will be the perfect spot right here. So I cannot wait to add the Just Chill double mauve to this spot. What we're going to do is, I have my power planter auger with the soon to be made public Jenny's Edition 9-inch power planter auger on it. It has that heavy duty tip. It should hopefully, when I say hopefully, because this soil is traditionally horrible soil, will make quick work of digging that hole for my 3-gallon plant. I've got biotone. You always use biotone when we're planting our trees, shrubs, perennials, even our annuals. And then I do have that bag of Land and Sea right here, because your camellias love organic material. This is that traditional red clay soil that you've seen me battle so many times, so I need to add organic matter. We do have a nice thick layer of mulch here, so it will be interesting to see what the soil looks like right here. But without further ado, we're going to get the hole dug, get this baby in, and get her nestled into her new home. friends, we have got the 2 camellias planted. They are in their new home and they are watered and just ready to start growing. So we got the pink snow here a little bit behind the October Magic Rose that you saw Mimi and I plant a couple of weeks ago. She is doing great. The October series, right, that October Magic series from our friends at Southern Living, man, they know how to grow some gorgeous camellias. This too obviously is going to be a Sasanqua because she's blooming and she's got those nice small leaves. October Magic Rose, love this. So you can see that really rich, deep pink, right? Still has those yellow stamens in there. Just absolutely stunning. It is going to be gorgeous with the pink snow next door. Pink snow, like I said, really nice, soft baby doll pink blooms on it with those yellow stamens as well. And then as we move on down here, we'll go down and see the double mauve. But kind of, if you've picked up on it, with between these camellias, we've got some azaleas, some encore azaleas down here. I think it was Autumn Twist in that pink and white family. We're gonna add the white shishi camellias to the cottage garden. So adding in those fall bloomers in that kind of that pink and white family. I have some moon shadow camellias up at the top, like near at the top of the steps near the chicken coop. So that is like a white with a pink edge. So, you know, we're having all these different kinds of camellias, but they all blend together and they're all in that same kind of color family. And then here we go. There is the double mauve. Jerry was able to come and get the pole saw cranked up. So we just did a little bit right here. He knows me well because I really could have gone crazy because he said, we're not going crazy. We're just doing a couple. And I was like, yes, I know. So at least we got some of the limbs off of the holly right here. But yeah, so just chill. She's good. She is hanging out there and she too got well watered in. The hose just barely did not reach this, so I used my watering can. It's a 2.5 gallon watering can, so I did 2 of those, so I got 5 gallons of water on her. So she's nice and watered in. Of course, everybody got a whole bag of land and seed around them because they need that organic material. Red clay here, y'all. I mean, I had to work it. The power planter did great, so if you're you're not sure if your clay soil is too thick and compacted or rocky and too many roots, let me tell you, you really can't get any more compact clay soil than what I did right there. And so, yes, you have to work it a little bit, but we can do hard things. It's a lot better than using a shovel, let me tell you that. So, got that in there. And then, because as my husband affectionately tells me, I have the memory of a gnat, I got everybody labeled because ask me in 6 months or a year from now exactly which camellia this is and I will not be able to tell you. So we have these great plant tags. I love them. They're a copper plant tag, nice long stakes so you can, make it however tall you want. I have found that I need to put them up close to the plants because otherwise they get stepped on. And so they're nice little copper tags. And then I have found the best marker. This garden marker is great for the outdoor use, and so I love this. We have both of these online, but it is fade resistant, and before I found that garden marker, I was using just a Sharpie on those, and it works for a while, but then it fades and they're gone. So I love those little plant tags and the marker because it works really well. Now, what we're gonna do, we're gonna do the tea olive, and then we're gonna do the daphne. It is going to be going for all the senses, people, right? With the looks of the beautiful flowers, the fragrances from the daphne and the tea olive. Oh, who says gardening in the winter has to be boring? Especially live in the South. Now, if you're in Colorado and you're under, a gazillion inches of snow, I get it. But if you're in the South, people, we are blessed. Get out there and garden. We can garden year round. Let's do it, all right? All right, my friends. Now, Forgive me for the lighting on this because it's a little challenging here. We are on the hill. This is the new area, right? Part of the terrace garden, Hydrangea Hill right here. The big unique stone container. I've got Figgy right behind me. And then of course our green giants right here. So what I'm gonna do is back over here, I have got a sweet osmanthus right here. And y'all, it is, bless her heart, she deserves to be planted in the ground because this tea olive was in the water trough at the barn this time last year. For the summer, we pulled her out and it was my intention to plant her. I never did. I just placed it on the backside of these green giants, and y'all, she lived. She rooted in the soil right behind there. I didn't water her, nothing. And she is blooming and she smells great. Now I know she's a little thin on the bottom, but if you'd gone through the summer like she did, you'd be looking a little, you know, worse for the wear also. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plant her centered between the fig tree and the green giant. That way, this beautiful evergreen that smells divine will kind of fill this area in, because Jerry was always concerned about this area and this gap, because that is where the tractor shed used to be, and so it's just kind of a bare look. So we're gonna bridge the gap here and we're gonna plant this tea olive right here. I do have a Montana moss in front of me. That's not a problem because it's gonna be wider than it is tall. And as far as the fig and the green giant, the fig has never been pruned. It'll probably get pruned sometime next year, so it'll get a little bit of a shape up, but I don't mind. In fact, that's kind of what I want, is for these three to kind of grow together to give me a screen right here. So that is what we're going to do. Literally the exact same thing. Rinse and repeat, right? I've got the power planter auger. We're going to drill a hole. We're going to do biotone. We're going to put her in. There's tons of amendments right here, so I don't necessarily have to put any land and sea around it because there's already a ton right here. I'm just going to scrape it back. And then I've got my hose and get her well watered in. She is going to be so happy in her new home. Friends, so sweet little tea olive, literally sweet little olive right here, is planted, watered. I mean, my gosh, if it is flowering after the neglect that it got this past summer, I can only imagine what it's going to do right here. So yeah, if you're not familiar with sweet osmanthus, it is the fragrance of the South in the fall. It is the southern fall fragrance, quintessential. It is insanely fragrant. It is my favorite fragrance of the fall. The flowers are very small, very insignificant. You're not going to buy this for being nice big showy blooms like maybe you would a camellia. You're buying this for the evergreen presence, the great columnar habit on it that it's going to grow relatively quite quickly, and that fragrance. It is intoxicating. I personally cannot get enough of the sweet osmanthus, the tea olive, the sweet olive, whatever you want to call it. It's very regional on what people call it, and I just call it fabulous and I adore it. So it is here. Of course, all I did was my biotone, and then it's got tons of dead peat that the pine bark finds around it, and the biotone will help get those roots nice and established and got it really well watered. Your tea olives, they bloom on old growth, so they're like camellias. If you have to prune them, you want to do it at the end of winter going into spring. Typically with my tea olives, I like to kind of just shape them up, give them a little bit of a haircut because I want to keep them nice and tight and compact. I don't want them growing too tall and leggy because I like to have that nice dense structure in there. With the way that the struggle that she went through this summer, I will definitely prune her this winter, like going into spring. So for me, that would be sometime around that like March, April time is when I prune mine. And this one I would probably cut it back by maybe like a fourth just to shape it up. If you need to fertilize them, that would be the perfect time to do it. Hollytone is great for them. Hollytone is great for your camellias as well, those acidic loving plants. So I suspect that this one's going to do quite well here and be very, very happy. I'm going to be very happy with it, with that great fragrance that it gives us, because I'm telling you, you smell these plants way before you ever see them, and they are fantastic. So moving on to another fragrant plant that this is my first time with a daphne. I've never planted a daphne, so we're going to go for it. We're going to put it in a container up here at the chicken coop, and yeah, it's going to be a delicious, beautiful fall and winter here at the house. All right, my friends, so here I am. I think you can probably tell where I am, but the steps up to the chicken coop are right here. The pink snow that we just planted is just over my left shoulder. We're right here on the edge of the woods. So I have this container and my furry friend that always seems to know exactly when I turn the camera on. She likes to come and make her presence known. But this container is nice and big. It's probably, I don't know, y'all, 24 inches tall, maybe 18 inches wide. And it's completely emptied, brand new, fresh potting soil in here. I've got the Proven Winners potting soil. For me personally, that's my only potting soil that I use because it has the great combination that I need here in the South, where it retains moisture, but yet it drains well too. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but it's really not. And so it's has done great for years and years and years. So that's just what I use in all of my pots. What we're going to do is we are going to plant this daphne, right? And daphne this is the Perfume Princess White. There's a Perfume Princess that does pink flowers. Well, this is the white one. It's like a mutation hybrid, whatever, of Perfume Princess. So it will do white flowers instead of pink flowers. And word on the street is with daphnes that they are incredibly fragrant. Still in that, you know, fall, winter, bloom, spring, somewhere in that window of time, right? So when you think of plants not blooming and flowering and being fragrant, here comes Daphne. Now, Daphnes also have quite the reputation of being divas in the garden. And so it seems like people that have Daphnes in their yard, they do great. Other people have tried Daphnes, like my poor mama, she's like, I've killed so many Daphnes, I've just given up. I've never done one, so we're gonna give it a whirl, right? Gardening is one big science experiment, so let's just try it. But I am putting it in a container because I can control the water a little bit more than if it's in the ground. I know that sounds, again, weird, but in this case I can, because they need well-draining soil but like consistent moisture. And so for me, this container is going to make it a little bit easier, because sometimes in the ground I think, oh, you're fine, and then the next day I realize, oh, it's been, you know, a month since I've watered you and it hasn't rained. So that's why I'm going to try it in a container today. So we have got the potting soil in here, and I'm going to go ahead and use the biotone, of course, whether it's in the ground or in a container. We use biotone. Now, if you're familiar with the tones, you know that fragrance. What I'm thinking I'm going to do is put it more towards the back, because we're going to do a couple little accent plants in the front. So I'm just going to kind of dig my hole here, get her planted, and then we'll put the little accent plants in. Okay, so Perfume Princess White is in the pot, and what we're going to do is we're going to add a couple little accents. Now, you certainly don't have to do this. This is all personal preference. If Daphne makes it through the winter and into spring, I will probably go ahead and take these out so that she has plenty of room in her container for her root growth. But for the winter, this will be fun. I have got 2 Everillo Carexes. If you know Jenny, I love this plant. I have got it planted right below here in the landscape, and I've got it up there in the landscape, and then I have it over there in a container. I adore this evergreen bright chartreuse grass, right? So it's a Carex, and it will get nice and big and mounded. So this is definitely a temporary planting for this, because there's no way that 2 Carexes, a Daphne, and an ivy, for good measure, can survive in this pot for, you know, a long length of time. So we're going to throw this variegated ivy here in the center. Now, I am not a fan of ivy in the landscape because it can be so incredibly invasive. So the only time that I use it is in Vanna, is in containers in the fall. And you can see where it's starting to run, which it trails, right? That's what we want it to do. But I need it to be like tighter. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to clip it. I am going to make sure and watch it this winter to make sure it doesn't grow too much and start to root into my landscape. When I am done with ivy, I take it and I throw it in the trash can. It truly is a trailing ornamental feature for my fall winter containers, because I have seen too many landscapes be completely taken over by ivy, that English ivy, and that's just not something that I want to have happen up here. But in a container, it's lovely. It's all about plant placement and knowing what works. So, I mean, there you go, y'all. It was as easy as that. I do have a little land and sea on the other side of Brenna, so what I'm going to do is just top dress it just a little bit, give it some nice insulation, and then water it in. The Daphnes are definitely a southern shrub, right? And so I have her here because she will get morning sun, which is great for them, or filtered sun, but they cannot handle intense hot afternoon sun. In fact, where I was thinking about having this pot up higher is still in the sun at like 1:30 right now. And just having this in the back of Johnny, it was starting to kind of like get limp on me. And I was like, okay, that's way too much sun. So we're gonna put it here where it will still get the sun. It's still nice and bright. And the great thing about a container is if it doesn't get enough sun, guess what? I can just move it. Vice versa, if it was getting too much sun, I can move it. Also, with it being here is because this tree line will give it a protection for those winter winds. I was talking about the camellia, right? If you're doing a camellia and you're on the top edge of the hardiness zone to give it winter protection, this is what I'm talking about. We're underneath some tree canopy. The north is directly behind me, so if I have northern winds that come through, I have got tons of trees behind me that will protect this plant. So she should, by all accounts, do really well. So that's the deal with Daphnes. And we're gonna get, like I said, land and sea, water, and then we're done for the day. Okay, my friends, so today's projects are complete. It feels great to get these 4 shrubs into the landscape. I mean, you can't get much more classic southern than camellias, tialas, and daphnes. I guess if we threw some hydrangeas and some azaleas in there, we could call it a day. But man, it feels great to get these in the ground or in the pot and added to the garden. It is going to be quite a fun fall and winter with the fragrances of the daphne and the tea olive, and then of course the blooms of the camellias. So I would just encourage you, right, especially if you're in the south. Now if you're in the north, I say this with all the love in my heart, but just like bless your hearts, I do not see how y'all do your winters with months of snow and cold and gray and dreary. So yeah, come move to the south. Yes, the summers are hot, but man, we get to garden year round. And so if you are in the south, I would just encourage you to really look around, not only in the fall and the winter, but all throughout the year. And what kind of holes do you have in your garden? Where is something that you want to add some interest? You can have interest 12 months out of the year, especially in these southern gardens, because there is something that is going to be in season, in bloom, in fragrance, give you interest, give you color, give you texture throughout the entire year. So visit your local garden center on a regular basis, right? At least once every season, if not tons more. We would love to help you. As a local garden center, I would say that we would love to help you, and I know, speaking for other garden centers, that they too would love to help you. It's a really fun thing is to be adding and constantly tweaking to our gardens and bringing interest to the space, no matter what it may be. So y'all have an amazing day. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. We'll see y'all in the next video. Bye, friends.